Hello, everybody, and welcome to Left Hand, Right Brain. I hope this podcast finds you well, and I know I say it every episode, but I say it because I mean it. For all your likes and subscribes, your rates and reviews, you know I preach. And if you could, dear listener, as a personal favor to me, if you could go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, just look up Left Hand, Right Brain or JD Lopez, you'll find it. If you could subscribe to that channel and even possibly maybe leave a comment on some of the videos, that would really help me take this podcast to the next level. It would just mean a lot to me personally, as well as taking steps towards making this podcast something I can be doing full time, and that will make my life better and make the podcast better for you. So if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate that. Okay, and if you want to catch Comedy Save the Video Star, my music video comedy mashup show, that's going to be returning Thursday, October 26th at Western Sky Bar and Tap Room. Tickets available on Eventbrite. Those are $5. And if you don't know what Comedy Save the Video Star is, it's my music video comedy mashup show. I get some of the best comics from around town and all over the place to come on. They do some comedy for you, and then we've all picked some music videos we think are fun, we have a good time with, maybe have some kind of personal connection to, and then we watch them and riff over them Beavis and Butthead style. So the show starts at 8, and if you want to come a little bit early, like 7:30, get a drink, come and get a good seat. We do a DIY TRL, so the audience can request any music videos they want to see. We put them up on the big screen, so I just become DJ JD, and it's a heck of a good time. So be there or be square. Okay, that brings us to this week's podcast, which is with a new friend of the pod, Chris Idaho Bones Veasey. He is the author of Uncivilized, Learning to Trust My Untamed Nature on the Appalachian Trail. He's a local author. He, as he says it, he abandoned his life to through hike the Appalachian Trail. Interesting read. I think he said he's planning on doing a trilogy. All right, so keep your eyes out for that. If you want to check out the book, if you like what you hear on this podcast, want to check it out, you can go to readuncivilized.com. I know he said he's working on getting it into some bookstores and things like that, so keep an eye out. You'll hear how he got his nickname, Idaho Bones, and some pretty interesting stuff about polyamory and kind of a through line between people who do extreme things like hike an Appalachian Trail and have unconventional lifestyles with polyamory and things like that. Interesting through line. So anyway, thank you so much, Chris, for being on. Appreciate it. I'll let you guys listen to this podcast. I'm done with the intro. Let's get to this week's LHRB podcast, part of Mile High Life, produced by Left Hand Right Brain Productions. All right, where did Idaho Bones come? Where did this come from?
You have to read the book, won't you?
No, I messaged you that until you put it out in audio, that's the only way I consume media.
I am excited to do the audiobook, and that's definitely going to have to be like probably the one last thing I do before I get back to doing at least a little bit of stand-up comedy myself. But yeah, it's actually going to be interesting on the audiobook doing that scene.
Did I leave the book out there? Can you hand me a
sure. Oh, I actually took it back somehow. But here you go.
What happened to it? Yeah, okay. We are here to talk about Uncivilized, a book this man wrote. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Frame it up, baby. You got it. Chris Idaho Bones Veasey? Veasey. Okay. Yeah, where did Idaho? We gotta start.
You got
there.
it.
Idaho Bones.
I won't bury the lead that deep on you. It was kind of funny. I went on the Appalachian Trail, and trail names are a big thing.
Okay, because you don't want to give out your real name.
It's a variety of reasons, honestly.
Yeah, when you're there to murder and kidnap somebody.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, do you get a lot of those, or were you worried about that at all?
About being murdered?
Yeah, or, you big strong man, but
it's a lot different when you're a man, obviously.
Sure.
But
you're still going out there.
There were moments. I had several near-death experiences, but they were driven by nature. Oh yeah. But there was one time I was in, I can't remember. It was this bumfuck town in Virginia, and this guy was tweaking out in the shelter like all night long. And the only time he spoke up was just like, that reminds me of the last time I tried to commit suicide. And everyone was just like, oh, okay. And then he took a bunch of pills and passed out. And I was like, and everyone else left the shelter. And I was like, am I going to stay in this shelter? I mean, I don't know what he put in his mouth, but he's pretty knocked out. So.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of the safety thing, I mean, it was no comfort to my mom, but I told her all the time, I was like, I'm more likely to be mugged on the streets of DC than, anything happening to me on the it's just a straight line from Georgia to Maine. So the odds of anything bad happening to me are about the same as, a city,
So
especially the places I used to hang out in DC.
Yeah. What is the Appalachian Trail?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not a big hiker, I guess,
Getcha.
I do like getting my steps in,
Sure.
but the idea of hiking has never really appealed to me.
Funny enough, it didn't even appeal to me on the trail. Honestly, what drew me to the trail was like, I just wanted to be outside among nature for months on end. And it seemed like the most cost effective way to do that. I actually talk a lot about in the book how I'm like, I don't actually love hiking that much. Like, I loved camping, and I always did. And I loved setting up my tent and just exploring for hours if I got to camp early enough. But like having
That
a
sounds
pack
like
on. But that's like having a pack on and like hiking the trail and hiking up and down. Because, Appalachia is kind of like several mountain ranges all crunched together. And you're having to hike up, then down, then up, then down, then up, then down, all in one day sometimes. And, it can be arduous. It was tough. I got Giardia. So that really slowed me down.
That's diarrhea.
Basically, it's
drinking
rough.
Some water.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I was filtering all my water pretty religiously, but I learned you can even get it washing your face. It can go in your tear ducts.
Oh,
just like,
shit. Yeah.
So little parasites can just go right up into your tear ducts, and that's probably how I got it, but who knows? And either way, my body actually handled it pretty well. I still hiked on average 10 miles a day, and it would go away for a few days and then come back. And then the doctor was like, I think I know why you weren't having symptoms. You said you were drinking a lot, right? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, well, yeah, that'll dehydrate you and then make it seem like, you don't have it.
Okay. I thought maybe all the alcohol was
like
doing something to combat the parasites.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could, because, for a while I was hiking like closer to 20 miles a day. And then I was like down to 10, feeling terrible. And then it was like one trip inside a gas station bathroom, and I was like, I think I need to go to the hospital. And then next morning I rented a car and drove 7 hours to New York because that was where my health insurance was good. That's where I grew up. And then he was like, yep, you got it. You got it good.
So you didn't, what was it? Was this that guy who went into the wild and died?
Yes.
Into the Wild guy?
Into the Wild guy, yeah. And that was written
by
Jack
pull
Krakauer,
one of
I
that.
can't remember his name. Nope, certainly not. Yeah, and then I remember from that book, I think it was potato seeds that killed him. I think that's like the leading theory or something. Like somehow like potato seeds are poisonous up until they become a potato. I like that guy. His journal was relatable. That's it. Chris McCandless.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Alexander Supertramp. So see, he had a trail name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's like a common thing.
It's a super common thing.
And does someone have to bestow it on you?
That's what I was going to get into. So basically, when you don't have a trail name, it's like it's clear that you're either not through hiking or that you just started. And for me, I was really eager to get a trail name. I had just gotten blindsided with a breakup, lost my apartment, quit my job, just kind of going through a general identity crisis. So I wanted the trail name for so many selfish reasons. I was like, I want a reset. I want to be someone
kind of
else
help give
here.
You a new identity in a way.
And then it's like 3 weeks go by and no trail name presented itself. But I had this hat, and I know you're a fan of hats. So I had this hat, and these hikers I met were like, with that hat, you kind of look like Indiana Jones. And 3 months earlier or so, maybe 1 month earlier, I was tripping on acid with a friend in the Poconos, and she said the same thing to me, and I created a whole alter ego. I was like, it's mighty kind of you to say that. I taught young Indy everything he knows. And I went on a whole thing about how I was a mentor for Indiana Jones. And then she was like, oh, so what's your name then? And I was like, well, they call me Bones. Idaho Bones. So I recounted that story, and the other hikers were like, well, that's obviously your trail name. And I was like, I can't give myself a trail name. I wasn't on trail. And they were like, shut up. We've hiked 1,000 miles. You've hiked 200. We're giving you this trail name. It's your trail name. And then I hiked with them for about 800 miles. And we're still close friends.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're really just meeting people and becoming close friends, quick friends.
Absolutely.
Jesus, I can't imagine. That sounds so.
It's a whole different life. Well, it is uncomfortable, and it's it's such a rose tinted glasses situation, right? Because I look back on it, and I'm like, that's the best period of my life. But in the moment, especially as I'm editing this book, and I'm like, right, I almost died there. I almost died there. I got rained on for 30 days straight. I got giardia. Like it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, looking back.
Right.
On it being.
And then I actually hiked half the Colorado Trail a couple of years. Absolutely. I hiked half the Colorado Trail a couple of years ago and quickly realized, oh yeah, I didn't love the actual hiking that much. But being in nature, unattached to everything is what I've always been drawn to.
And you said you're from Washington?
So I grew up in New York and I lived in Washington, D.C. for 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, going from the concrete jungle to, the wilderness, I mean, I could see where the appeal is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, what are you thinking? You're like Lord of the Rings out there? What was the big motivator? There has to be something you saw that was like, I want to do that.
Well, from a young age, I was aware of the Appalachian Trail, and then I literally just kind of forgot about it. And that girl I was dating that I got broken up with before the trail, she went to UVA, and she used to hike the Appalachian Trail on weekends. So we started hiking it little bit by bit, and it came back into my mind, and I absolutely hated my job in DC. And then literally as soon as I knew, like, someone in accounting was like, hey, don't quit this job yet. You're about to get a bonus. And I was like, oh, okay. After that, I'm going to go hike the Appalachian Trail. So,
okay.
Yeah. And for me, it was like, when my dad knocked up my mom, I was barely born in wedlock, almost a bastard. But long story short, she was like, we got to get this kid out of New York or he's going to grow up crazy. She bought a trailer in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, about 2 hours from New York. And that's where it all started for me. Like she used to take me and my cousin up there. And from the age of 7, I was allowed to just roam freely until the sun went down. And that's what I did. I would just like literally walk into the woods, like past no trespassing signs. And she trusted me to come back, and I always did. And that's kind of just where it all started. Like, I learned how to make a fire there, and cook.
Did you get like Boy Scout training? I mean, just like
I did Boy Scouts training, and I just didn't like it that much. But that little trailer in the Poconos really taught me just
like who taught you how to make a fire. Was it like throw gas on some wood, or are you kindling the sticks? Are you making a
I did that a few times, making it from scratch and everything. I never quite got the stick on stick action down.
Yeah.
But with the flint, which is not as easy as
it's like that stick, and then you take the knife and you like skim it down where it gets all the curly cues.
All the curly cues. That's right.
I watched a bunch of survival videos.
Cool.
But never actually put anything into practice.
Yeah. Are you a Survivor fan by chance?
No. Okay. The show?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
No. Never really got into reality TV.
Oh, I feel you. But I got hooked on that one a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I guess it makes sense because that's like what you want to do, right? Or like something you're interested in doing.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'd go by Idaho Bones on the show, but who knows? I guess it'll be up to the producers.
I guess that's up to Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones and Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, okay. So it's your trail name. You get it dubbed to you, which is nice.
Yes.
So the Appalachian Trail says starts from Georgia and goes to Maine.
That's right. Is
this like an old like Indian trail where we like forced Indians to go somewhere else, or how did this trail come about?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, is it
it's not
walking?
Like Trail of Tears kind of stuff?
Definitely not that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just curious. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, where did it come from? How to become popular? Like, why is this the go-to?
It was in the 60s.
Trail for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think to this day it's still the world's longest footpath, and there are longer trails out there. But what makes this the longest footpath is like the Continental Divide Trail, for example. You can actually bike that. You cannot take a bike on this trail. Like you're literally not allowed.
There's just a sign.
Yeah,
that's why. Like, why? Is it like you're gonna get?
Well, that's the thing. It's just supposed to be a foot-only footpath. Okay. Like it's meant to just for trekkers, backpackers. And
is there like beef between trekkers and bikers? Like if you saw one on there, would you like fight them?
A small beef.
Okay.
Like I would get annoyed when I did the Colorado Trail, just when like huge groups of bikers would come through, and I'm moving to the side over and over, like for literally like 20 of them. And I'm like, couldn't you all at least like line
stay
up
in a pack?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have to keep playing this charade. I wouldn't call it a beef though. I mean, it's funny. I look at them with respect because they have just a pack on their handlebars and a pack on the back. And I'm like, you guys are doing it smarter than I am. I'm carrying my shit. But
yeah.
I certainly wouldn't say there's like a what is it? Jets versus the
Sharks versus
Sharks.
Jets.
Yeah, it's definitely not that.
Death rivalry.
It's definitely not that.
You're not pulling out switchblades and going at it.
Certainly none of
You're
that.
not slashing tires in the night.
Yeah, not on this trail. But yeah, it was created and cultivated by two guys named Benton and McKay. Can't remember their trail or their first names. And they basically just saw that like up and down the coast there were all these trails, and all they needed were like little connectors of like 10 to 15 miles to make it one giant 2,200-mile trail. And they did it, and it was a huge undertaking. Congress had to like get involved to make sure it actually like happened. But honestly, like the more I learned about it, I was like, wow, it's pretty beautiful. It was like a lot of volunteering and a lot of people in these communities coming together and deciding like I feel like it's something that doesn't happen these days. It's like people are like, stay off my lawn. And back then, everyone was like, I would love to have weary hikers hiking through my town and crashing in my yard. And
it's a different lifestyle.
It's a different lifestyle. For sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it came out to be. Right on the back, I think. Yeah, 200,000 people have attempted it. Oh, shoot, I really hope that's not a typo. I don't think it is. Now that I'm looking at it.
I mean, is it like Everest and people die? Like, is it like it's a feather in the cap kind of, or just a huge accomplishment for a hiker?
It's definitely only 20% of people who try to do the whole thing actually do it.
Okay, yeah. So it's a big deal.
Definitely. Gotcha. And then there's also people called purists who have all sorts of rules that are like, oh, if you take a 0 day, like you're not a real hiker. And a 0 day is when you just don't hike for a day. Just chill out,
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite days on trail because like you, not the biggest hiker, ironically.
Well, it sounds like you are. I mean, you kind of wrote a book about it. I don't know if you can say that
right
anymore, dude.
I'm getting conflicting messages here. Yeah, like purists kind of have like a very myopic view of like how to hike this trail. So like you wake up at 5 a.m. There was something called a 10 by 10 club where you like you get 10 miles in before 10 a.m. every day.
Oh shit!
Tell me about it. Those are, you know who those people
are. So even though those guys are chill, they're chill in the sense that like they'll hang out, give you a nickname, they're gonna fucking make you work for
those
it.
Those purists in the 10 by 10 club are not chill. I'm not saying they're mean or
bad. Yeah. But they're on a mission. But they're doing something.
Yeah, like you're not smoking a joint by the fire with them for sure.
Yeah, because they got to stay healthy, right? They got to keep their lungs.
We didn't make
strong.
me any less healthy on that.
It was the Giardia.
Yeah, it was the poop. It was the poop.
Well, it happens to the best of us,
Sure
so
does.
I mean, were you researching all this stuff? Like you had some survival skills going in, I guess.
No. Other than that trail in the Poconos, I used to pitch a tent out there just because I liked sleeping outside. And one time a bear did come right up to the tent up there. But other than that, it was like, it's in a backyard.
You became friends with it?
Definitely did. He almost stepped on my head.
You were that close to the bear?
Yeah, it was crazy. I heard stomping, and it was like in my dream I heard stomping. And then finally my body woke up and I like hear a slam like right next to my head. And then it starts running off, and I unzip the tent, and there's a bear just like at first on 2 feet and then down on all fours because my dog was inside barking at it, so I scared it off. So that was when I was
very
like
lucky.
12, 13.
Look death in the face.
I mean, yeah. I don't think it would have killed me, but
why
it's
not?
Best
Why
to
don't
not.
You think? You think you're friends?
Because black bears don't really attack people.
Oh, it's a black bear. Yeah, I was thinking grizzly.
Oh, no. Grizzlies are only way up in the Pacific Northwest.
They're here.
No, they're not.
I've heard one person say that they were here, so.
It was probably just a big brown bear.
It's a guy on Rogan, so. Probably
those guys
pretty
are
legit.
Always right.
Hey, would you say no to Rogan if Rogan was like, hey, come talk to me about being on the Appalachian Trail?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, it's a big platform. Anyway,
100%.
So, okay, yeah. So you're getting, what were your shoes? I know shoes are a big thing. How many shoes did you go through?
I made some seriously fatal errors in this department. I had some trail runners, which I highly recommend.
That a brand?
Solomon.
Okay.
Trail runners.
And not like Adidas.
I still have them. No.
Okay.
If you see Adidas on trail, somebody fucked up.
So there is like this elitist look, like thing to hiking, which is funny.
I guess so. I mean, there's what's called like gearheads that are like insane about it.
Yeah, I've seen those YouTube videos.
Yeah, yeah. And no, I don't mean the Adidas comment with any like
no, yeah, I get it. But
judgment.
I mean, you know,
it's just like
there's a
you're
little
not
bit, right?
You're gonna fall.
Yeah, you're gonna fuck yourself up, dude.
Yeah. Although I did see one guy do the whole thing in the same pair of Crocs. I don't know how he did that.
All right, strong feet.
I would have broken all my toes if I did that. Chacos are popular with people, and like my trail runners after 2 days where all the material on the front was taken off. Like I'm way too clumsy for that. I'm a very clunky, just head down kind of hiker. Like, how are you guys doing this?
Like you're not like light on your feet.
I mean, when I play ultimate frisbee, I think I am. But when I'm hiking, I'm like, I want to get this over with. I want to get to camp. I'm like not really like paying attention. But I started halfway and headed up to Maine. It's called a flip flop. If you do it anyway, except like north to south is called Nobo. Or I'm sorry, no, south to north, because you're heading north is Nobo, like northbound. And then there's southbound, Sobo. And the one thing that they agree on, because they have a rivalry, is flip floppers are idiots. And
people who wear flip flops on the trail.
No, it's because you're flipping and flopping. So I flipped from Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, up to Maine. I went back to Harpers Ferry, Maine, by car, and then hiked
for a girl,
flopped
I'm sure.
south. I'm an idiot and planned to take 2 weeks off on the Jersey Shore at the beach in the middle, and it was like starting all over again. Yeah. Definitely not. Although I actually knew some of the people on that show.
I bet.
Yeah, I grew up on Staten Island. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do love their Jersey Shore.
Right, that's part of New York, right?
Barely, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not as up on the East Coast stuff.
Yeah.
You went north to south?
Well, yeah. So first I went.
You're flip flopping,
right? So first I went north to Maine, and then once I got to Maine, I chilled at the beach for 2 weeks, and then I went south to Georgia. So that's why it's called a flip flop. So I like flipped and then I flopped.
And then the elitists, like guys, 10x10ers are like, you're wasting energy.
I don't know what their problem is. With it.
Yeah. I mean, they got their thing.
I mean, it's funny, but
economy of energy and motion. I'm
100%.
sure they're thinking a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. And I had many hikers joke with me that like my miles didn't count. Like, nope, you got to go back to Georgia and start over. But it's all in good fun.
Yeah. It's nice that everybody's so friendly there.
Overwhelmingly friendly.
Because you're all in it together. Is there a sense of like we're all doing something communal? Like
very much so.
If I need help, hopefully this person would be there for me. And
yeah, and it's funny. So I think this was unique to our AT class, our Appalachian Trail class of 2017. We took to calling like day hikers and like tourists and people that weren't through hikers Marlas. And this is because some hikers were at a hostel watching Fight Club. And it was like, you're a tourist, Marla. Like that part where Edward Norton shakes what's her face by the yeah. And they were like, oh, that's a way better name than anything else. Because so we'd be like, oh yeah, heads up, it's a bunch of Marlas at the shelter, just like and it was something like it's not like we hate you, but you are annoying us. You know what I mean?
Because you're not in it.
Everyone comes to feel like the Appalachian Trail is your home. And then all of a sudden, it's like all these strangers are in your home asking you a million questions. Oh, wow, what kind of pack you got there? What kind of shoes? And you're like, I'm just trying to eat a granola bar and keep going,
Gotcha.
But even the strangers I met, I talk a lot in the book about what are known as trail angels. So there are trail angels who provide trail magic. And it can, like, for me, I would often, like, find a beer in a stream. So that's, like, a trail angel left that for me in the stream. Like,
Giardia. That's how you get Giardia.
Damn it, you might be right.
Yeah, you're like, it's way more.
Yeah.
It makes way more sense. I would have gotten into my tear ducts than all this river beer I was drinking.
Listen, it was worth it.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you go.
It wasn't worth it. No, but yeah, and then like there's a guy called the Omelet Guy, and he literally just cooks breakfast for every thru hiker who comes through. So he's like the ultimate trail.
He
angel.
Lives there.
And then there are trail angels that like just like provide rides for people. But like that was one of the things that was driving me crazy about books I was reading about the Appalachian Trail before and during my hike. I was like, none of these people are talking about trail angels and that's what makes it so special. It's like, someone picking you up after you've been drenched in rain and taking you to McDonald's and taking you through a drive-through and giving you a 20 afterwards. Like, it really makes your day.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, the communities are huge. Like, the Appalachian Trail literally walks through, I'd say, about 15 towns, maybe more, maybe less, straight through town. So I think people think about these trails and they just think isolated nature.
Yeah.
You're hiking along, Shenandoah Highway in Virginia for miles on end, and sometimes you're literally walking through a town. But those towns are like, it really warmed my heart, honestly, to just see how welcoming they were.
Yeah,
of
that
everybody.
has
Like,
to feel good.
yeah, like it became part of their culture. Like, yeah, we're a very hospitable town. We want everyone coming through to like feel good.
Have you seen the beginning of First Blood, Rambo, First Blood?
No.
He's walking through a town and the cop is like, we don't want drifters here.
Oh, yeah.
And he drives him to the other side of town to get him out.
Wow.
And like, that's where the beef starts.
First Blood?
Because he's like, hey, I'm just looking for some food, And he's like, nope, you got to go to the next town to get your food.
I mean,
and then Rambo starts walking back because he just wants a meal. And then the guy arrests him,
What?
So that's not happening on the Appalachian Trail is what I'm getting at.
Not that I've seen.
Yeah.
Not that I've seen.
Maybe not to you.
Right. Not that I've seen. No, I mean, yeah, honestly, it was pretty.
No, that's right.
Hospitality.
They probably learned from First Blood. They're like,
yeah,
you have
exactly.
to be nice to these people, or they're going to destroy our town.
Right. We can't have a Rambo in our small little town.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, that's all very interesting and fun. Why did you do this though?
Yeah, I think
it sounded like you had a job, you got a bonus. And you're like,
I just, I know it's.
Which I want to hear what they're like. Here's your bonus check, and you're like, I quit. As you took it, you're like, I quit.
Well,
How did that go?
I took it, got so paranoid that I transferred it to a whole new bank account, and then literally resigned the next day.
So you opened a new bank account with that bonus?
Yep.
Why? You thought they'd take it back from the bank?
I knew they couldn't take it back, but I not enough to not do something paranoid. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. So you were worried about your life choices at this point.
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly was, especially during that stage of my life.
Yeah, what was going on? Bring us back to the.
Sure. I right out of college, I worked for an ad agency, and immediately I was. Yeah, not at all like that. Our client was the Air National Guard. Very unsexy work.
Seems like steady work though.
Moderately sexy people. Yeah, it was
steady.
It was very steady work. Very steady work.
Yeah, that's a government work, right?
Well, it just immediately threw me into the I call it work till you drop culture of DC, and it just threw me immediately into that. And then I had a quarter life crisis and moved to Honolulu. And I never studied abroad in college.
They want us all there, huh?
Hey, Howley boy, get off my island. I literally heard that almost every day. So that was one of the reasons
that means white
moved
guy.
back. It sure does. Hey, Howley boy, you lost?
They call you Bretta? No, because they didn't like you. They wouldn't call you Bretta.
Exactly.
No cuz, no Bretta?
Well, it's funny. One thing I noticed is like if you get this kind of shaka, it actually
means jujitsu.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, in jujitsu it does. I don't know what it means in other cultures.
No, what I learned is I started seeing that the locals actually do this to each other instead. So whenever I got this, I was like, oh, I actually am on someone's good side. If I got this, I was like, in your head, you're like, Howley boy.
Walking away.
Yeah.
Because they're not scared to fight, is what I've heard.
Nope.
Right.
No, my roommate got his ass absolutely kicked one night just for being a drunk white guy. Yeah. Which is like, honestly, that guy was an asshole. But I'm not so sure he deserved to get the shit.
So you quit the ad agency and went to Hawaii?
Yes. And then that didn't
last long. Had you gone on
long.
vacation there or something? Or like,
no.
What was you're just like, I'm going to paradise.
You're probably noticing a theme in my life where I just jump into things.
You're like, I want to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Nature.
Exactly.
Centric.
For me, it was, I was still on my parents' health insurance, and in order to maintain that, I had to stay stateside. But I wanted to go somewhere new, and oddly enough, I was already planning this. And one of my friends at the ad agency resigned to move to Hawaii to work for a hotel. And then so I was like, "Hey, can I join you?" Like I was actually thinking about doing the same thing. She was like, "Absolutely, send me your resume," and then everything seemed great. And then I show up and they're like, oh, we actually have this conference coming with all these world leaders for like weeks. And we can't hire anyone unless we go through this specific ad agency until January. And I was like, well, it's September. What am I supposed to do for the next 3 months and change? So I got a job as a host at Benihana.
Nice.
In Hilton Hawaiian Village. And honestly, it was a really great few months, but it never felt like home. Like it just didn't. And I surfed or snorkeled basically every day, and it was a wonderful experience. But this is kind of how life works sometimes. Towards the end, I started kind of finding my footing, but I already booked my flight home and kind of made up my mind to go back. And it did have a positive effect in that I wasn't really too keen on DC anymore at that time. And being there made me really miss it. And it kind of rejuvenated me for 5 more years. But the rejuvenation wore off because I was working after that, I think, 2 more soul sucking jobs. Then I was working for a government contractor for the Department of Veterans Affairs, planning an annual conference every year. And yeah, I was putting in like 80-hour weeks for 3 to 6 months, year round, or every year, I should say. So it was like for like 3 months out of the year, I had like nothing to do at all. And then for 3 months, it was like, all right, normal job. And then for 6 months, it was like, okay, bye, friends and family. I won't see you for 6 months, basically. And then I got another job where it kind of happened again, and I was still in conference planning, and I just got so sick of it. Honestly, it just I think a lot of us struggle with this, and honestly, that's hugely what Uncivilized became about. Is like I kind of want to show people, like, to as cheesy as it sounds, like, go find your Appalachian Trail. It's like I'm not telling you to go hike 2,200 miles and you have all these crazy adventures, but like you can take chances. You can go out and do something wild. Like I met plenty of I met a mom. She was a pretty new mom, and she was suffering from such bad like postpartum depression. She made the hard decision to like go out on the trail, and it's like that's a hard decision. But I think it in
Was the
the
kid
long
with her?
that's the thing. I mean, I actually I
No
did
one knows
see
where the kid is. That's the
no,
thing.
I'm pretty sure she had a great husband driving to see
wow.
her with the baby pretty frequently. Although one beautiful thing I saw was a couple did take their 3-month-old baby and hiked the entire Appalachian Trail with it, and people had opinions, as you can imagine. But they they had like a really beautiful post afterwards. They were like, yeah, like we know that people had opinions about this, but like the unbelievable kindness from strangers we found like really restored our faith in humanity. And like to wake up in the middle of the night and hear your 6-month-old child imitating coyotes is a truly beautiful experience, and I'm really glad we did it. It's like,
all right,
right,
okay, yeah, I'm glad you did it,
right.
That's a interesting one, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, yeah.
It
okay, but
is.
yeah, when you say find your Appalachian Trail, what do you mean?
Sure.
Like, what did that do for you? What does it
I
represent?
think it just showed me that I can trust my gut, because for me, it's like I was working those jobs and my gut was telling me that this is killing you. Like, not actually, but like this is bad. You're not happy. What are you doing? Because for so long I kept telling myself, I was like, yeah, sure, my job sucks, but my life's good. And I was like, but is that enough? And for some people it is, some people it isn't. And I think for me, I just want to, at least like with my story, show like I met thousands of people who abandoned their lives as they knew it. And what kind of became a mantra for me when I was hiking out there, it almost became a hypnotic thing. I would find myself repeating, none of it matters. None of it matters. None of it matters. And it's like, it's kind of freeing to know, like, I left all of those people behind. I left a whole life behind. And guess what? Everyone kept moving, and it's kind of freeing. Like it's a little terrifying. It's like, oh shit, if I was just wiped off the face of the planet, the lives of the people around me wouldn't actually be changed that much. But on the flip side of it, it's like it takes immense pressure off. It's like you can go do that thing.
Right.
Like stop making excuses. And I don't mean to say I was a 28-year-old single guy with disposable income. That's a pretty privileged place.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying everybody can just up and quit and do, but like, that thing that's tugging at you, like pay attention to it, answer it, find a way to scratch that itch,
Yeah. There's a calling. kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody has a little bit of a calling.
Sure. Yeah. Would you say it's a self-helpy book, or what? You
No.
know, is there elements of that in there?
There's elements of that. Yeah. I my editor, it's funny, for one whole chapter, I basically switched my voice to talking directly to the reader, and she was like, "This is not landing. Like, find some other way to deliver this material." And it's definitely by no means to be preachy. It's just meant to be like.
And you're like, guess what? I'm going on another hike for 3 months because you said this.
Right. Watch me.
I mean, is that the response you have to not being told what to do, but I mean the idea that you're doing this thing, this big break. I mean, what do you think that is?
For me, it was, I had so many like unfinished projects in my life, and it kind of put me in like it's not quite a victim mindset, but it did become part of my identity. I was like, I'm a person who doesn't finish things.
Okay.
Like in college, I actually had a late night TV talk show on the college's like TV network for I think 3 seasons, and it was my baby. Like Conan O'Brien was like my idol growing up. I used to watch the show all the time, and I really loved doing it, and it made me want to keep doing stuff. And obviously, when you graduate, you can't be on the college TV station anymore. So I tried to make a YouTube channel, and I struggled to like get a following with that. And then I tried to have like basically like a college humor-esque website where I'm just like constantly putting out content. Nobody's paying attention to that. And then I had an Etsy store where I was making art with like beer and wine paraphernalia, like bottle caps, cans, cases, corks, all this stuff. And people would see it and be like, "Oh, I really like it." So I started selling artwork. So then I opened like an actual shop to sell it. And then I realized, I was like, oh, nobody really meant it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big move, getting a brick and mortar, like
it wasn't that. It was Etsy online.
Oh, okay.
So,
I thought, like you went to
but still, I mean, it was something I actually did like leading up to the Appalachian Trail, and just like got it. And it's,
so you have a creative urge,
totally.
A creative drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I always knew at some point I'd write a book. And then when I came off the AT with literally 8 notebooks filled front to back of stuff, I was like, all right, I think this is the first one.
You're just keeping notes the whole time?
Yeah. And
and you said you were also like voice memoing to yourself? Like,
Yeah.
what were you talking about? Just like what you saw, or like, was it
observations?
Just all work and no play kind of?
No, it was
your
like,
mantra.
It definitely, yeah, it was about my experiences. I made it a point to like really observe the people I was meeting, and like just write as many details as I could about them. And again, the communities and like the trail angels and stuff like that. That's kind of like where it came from. But then, once you know how it goes, like once the pen starts moving, it's like it kind of just finds a mind of its own sometimes. And yeah, I'm such a verbose person, and as you already can tell, and I had to cut out 60% of what I transcribed to end up with this.
Yeah, what did you want it to be, and then what did it end up becoming?
That's such a good question. Yeah, no, absolutely. It was. I've noticed that like when I'm too close to something, I really have a hard time. Like I really feel like
it's your baby.
Something's right in my face, and I can't see.
Okay.
I can't see it clearly because it's too close to me. So I knew I needed an editor. So I did a Kickstarter, and I raised money to like get an editor who's like a really accomplished author in her own right. And we had a great working relationship. And
you reached out to an editing house or publishing house, and
there's a website called Veasey, and you basically like, there are all these profiles. And so, I reached out to like 10 editors. I did Zooms with like 4 or 5 of them. And then as soon as I started talking to this one, I was like, this is my editor.
Yeah. Exciting.
And I said to her, I was like, it's crazy because like I really feel like there's some really, really good writing here, but I don't know what the book's about, and I don't know what to trim, and I don't know what to get out. And there was actually a writing group here in Colorado, because a major theme of the book that I actually kind of peeled back a little bit on was kind of discovering that I'm a polyamorous person. And
whoa, okay, Mr. Married over here.
Yep. She is too, obviously.
Okay.
She's
poly, or she's married too.
Yeah, we were actually.
She's obviously married too. My wife.
we were in a triad or like a throuple basically, but like an equal one for 2 years. That
Equal
just
as
recently ended. Well, it's just like I don't know how much you know about it, but in polyamory,
there's
there's like
3 of you.
all these and there's all these terms about like hierarchy and like how lovers relate to each other and
Like, is there like a
like you have like
primary and a
exactly.
third? Okay.
So that's the thing. So you have like a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary, and like people do all that stuff. But in this instance, we made a conscious effort to make sure there was none of that hierarchy. And of course, like we fell short time and time again. It's a hard thing to do,
Yeah.
but it was the goal. And we definitely found a lot of harmony. I mean, we were together 2 years, and it was just something that
It's like Vicky Cristina Barcelona. That's my only real like.
I
that was my
feel
first
like
introduction.
that movie
to
might have shaped me a little bit.
I mean, yeah,
yeah, right. Well, when you have those two,
I mean, Woody Allen, not great guy. Scandal
Nope.
noted,
Yeah.
but other than that,
big time.
yeah.
Where was I with this? Oh yeah, and so my last relationship before my marriage was what's commonly known as like monogamish, and it kind of got to a point where like we were inviting partners into our bedroom together, um, and on like a repeated basis, and I like loved it. I felt like it enhanced our relationship, and I wanted to do more of it. And we actually found a whole community of like non-monogamous people in DC, and started going to these events. And she kept wanting to leave those events, and I wanted to stay. And then it was like, and I definitely didn't handle myself with total grace in all those
Yeah.
situations, but it did become clear that it was like we at least one of the crossroads that led to us splitting up as a couple was this is fulfilling me, and I'm realizing that I'm capable of loving multiple people, and I really do feel like love can be infinite if done in the right way. And you feel like you're pushing yourself, and this doesn't align with what you're looking for, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it was something I really struggled with because I had suspected kind of in a previous relationship that I had like a sex addiction. And after that breakup, my ex, who didn't want to talk to me, I'm on the Appalachian Trail, and she's sending me podcasts on sex addiction. And I was like, "Do you have anything else to say?" She's like, "Nope." And I was like, "Not helpful." Thanks.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah. And it was throughout the hike, that was a huge sticking point for me. It was like, am I? And throughout the book, I was like, I questioned my relationship with sex. I questioned my relationship with other humans, questioned my relationship with alcohol. Like it was kind of like a stripping down as I was hiking to like find out what was underneath all these kind of crutches and vices in my life.
Yeah, I mean, that'll do it, right? I mean, because you're pushing yourself every day to be doing something physical, and like these you can't keep these walls up anymore.
Yeah,
like
there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, the emotional energy or whatever has to go to
big time.
Keeping your feet moving.
Big time. And that's the thing. Like I think in that previous relationship, once that breakup happened, I was like, well, shit. Like I don't think I'm meant to just be with one person, and that probably means I'm gonna turn off just about every woman I meet for the rest of my life.
I'm sure I can see that as a fear.
But then on the Appalachian Trail, I met 3 different women that were also like non-monogamous, polyamorous, and I was like, "Oh, there are other people out there. I can find this, and I think I'm meant to." And so that's it's a big part of anyway, the whole
feel like
way
you're
I
on the
got
right
here.
Trail.
Yes. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, there you go.
And no, there was a writers group here in Colorado, and I was really struggling because that was a theme that I wrote so much about, and I think I can genuinely help people with in life, just like understanding it and seeing that there's like an alternative, and just getting conversations started. And this woman in the writers group was like, "Well, clearly you're writing a trilogy." And I was like, "Oh my god, I am." And basically, like, this was all about the trail, kind of like tearing down walls, like figuring out what's underneath, what I want from my life moving forward. And I kind of took out a lot of the polyamory and non-monogamy stuff. And my second book is going to be Unattached, an evolution into polyamory. And then the third book is going to be Re-Civilized, where I actually talk to other hikers, because another thing that's not really talked about is it's really hard for hikers to readjust to society after a through hike. Like really challenging.
Doing your thing. You're your own boss.
I was out in Denver one night and I had to go to the bathroom, and I almost went to the bathroom in the middle of the street because I was so used to just
go when you need
just
to.
Going when you need to, anywhere you want. And that's like a lighthearted thing, but it becomes hard to relate to people again because you're kind of on this trail. Everyone's on the same wavelength, and everyone has abandoned something. And then you get out and you feel like you're among zombies for the first few months
in society.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And I don't mean that with any like judgment. It's just like it feels like everyone's on autopilot, and that's how I felt before my hike. I write about that a lot. I'm like I felt like I was on autopilot for years, and then you go back to it, and it's like you're like, yeah, everybody is kind of on autopilot. It's a little scary.
Yeah. I can see the trail mentality being like we're all doing something. We're all doing. Mm-hmm. We all have a goal. Mm-hmm. We're all working towards the same goal. However else we got here, there's kind of a through line.
Definitely.
With you said abandon, which is a pretty charged word.
Yeah, it's right on the back of the book. I mean, I say how, that's what it is. People abandoned a life, and you can't go back. Even if you're out there for a couple weeks, like you still abandon it, and it might be 99% like
you can't go back. That's your thought?
Kind of.
No man steps into the same river twice, kind of a thing.
Bingo. Exactly.
Dang.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's intense.
And oddly enough, when my ex sent me that podcast, I was like, you know what? Let's dig in. Like, I don't want to back away from this. Let's figure out what's going on.
Maybe they talk about sex in this podcast. I'll give it a listen.
Fingers crossed. I read this. I started, and I know you're big on audiobooks. That was like the best thing about the Appalachian Trail. I was able to consume, I think, 25 audiobooks, maybe even, it was pretty great. But once I kind of avoided it for a while, and then I was like, all right, there's this book I think I need to read. And it was called The Craving Mind. And I had no idea that this book was going to be about Buddhism in so many ways. But it really helped give me a lot of clarity on those vices I talked about, and like my relationship with sex and sex partners in general. And it was just like a really powerful book that put a lot of things in perspective. And then after that, like in high school, I actually became like fascinated with Buddhism, and I grew up Catholic, which never hit home for me.
Me too.
Yep. How are you doing with that?
We'll say a Hail Mary real quick.
Yeah, real quick one.
Throwing up. No, sorry. Now I even feel guilty about that. I feel.
Oh no, not the guilt. My wife's Jewish, and I always joke with her. I'm like, yeah, I feel like Jews and Catholics are like, we invented guilt, and then behind closed doors, like, actually, they invented guilt. It's ingrained in us.
Yeah, for sure.
It's ingrained
in
us. Line. Yeah. I had a therapist that literally, I couldn't believe it. He stood up and he was like, "You will never understand how ingrained guilt is because of Catholicism." And I was like, "Damn, dude. All right, cool."
Yeah, settle down, bro.
Can you sit down?
Yeah. That's he's going through something.
He is going through something. Yeah. We all are.
So, you read this book about
The Craving Mind.
The Craving Mind, yeah.
And it gave me a lot of clarity. It made me just reflect and just
about this idea of loving multiple people and not being a sex addiction.
Exactly. Like I realized that that's not what it is. All it was is this like conviction that I just can't be with one person for the rest of my life. And I when I was like literally 20 years old, having these urges to be with other people when I'm in a monogamous relationship, I was like, well, I must be addicted to sex. And it's not that. It's just like I myself am not wired for monogamy. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was sex addiction, and it's not. And like now I did like a lot of journaling, a lot of exercises, etc. But yeah, in such a roundabout way, like it brought Buddhism back into my life. And I'm probably the worst Buddhist on earth, if I'm being honest with you. But I do.
That should be the title of your next book.
Yes. The worst Buddhist on earth.
That could be your new hiking trail name.
Bad Buddha.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Something there.
I thought you were Idaho.
Something there.
I thought you were Idaho.
Now you are Bad Buddha.
You are Bad Buddha. But yeah, and then after that, it kind of was like an avalanche effect where I consumed like 5 books straight about Buddhism. Another book, Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, you might have heard of.
I've heard of it.
And it all just kept going. And I actually had this really scary day on trail where the trail was coming to an end. I was running out of money. I had no idea what was coming after. It was right after I got back from recovering from Giardia. And I was just so stressed out to the point that I didn't realize I had tightened my straps. Like over the course of a couple days, I just kept raising my backpack bit by bit to the point where it got up and was actually like constricting my diaphragm. So I'm hiking up this climb, and at this stage in the hike, I was like refusing to take breaks while climbing because I was so worried about finishing the trail. I was like, I'm not leaving this trail unfinished, and it's mid-October. I don't have much more time. I have 500 miles left. I can't fuck around.
Because like winter's coming, kind of a thing.
Oh, did it come?
Okay.
There was a day in the Smokies where it didn't go above 0 for 24 hours. I didn't even have a hat and gloves. It was one of the roughest days of my life.
Wim Hof method over here, or is it just sheer will that you didn't get frostbite or something?
Yes.
Okay.
And people did get frostbite around me at that time.
Were you doing some kind of special breathing technique or anything?
I luckily had the warmth of a woman at that time.
Oh.
But it was we weren't sleeping. Like we were preventing each other from getting frostbite, but we were not. Like we would just be in our sleeping bags waiting till morning, like maybe getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep for 5 days.
Damn.
It was crazy. No, it was nuts. And then what was even more nuts was when we came out of the Smokies, it was 70 degrees. It went from 1 degree that morning to 70 degrees because we're like 6,000 feet up at that point, and then we're all the way down to sea level. And on top of that, the cold snap finally stopped,
broke or whatever.
It was so great. And then it came back a few days later with rain. That was a rough stretch. But I don't even know how I got here.
Well, I do think it's interesting, this through line with non-monogamous people and like hiking or like these extreme things. What do you think that is?
I think I've thought about this. I think it's just through hikers in general, like what's the phrase? Like buck the norm, you know?
Yeah.
They're kind of
looking for something outside of a norm.
Exactly.
The norm anyway.
They're
multiple senses, I guess. And a through hiker is
someone who hikes the whole trail in one shot.
Okay.
Yeah. But actually, one of those people I encountered I was just horny on Tinder, and she wasn't.
While you're on the trail.
Absolutely.
I could see why you thought maybe you had a sex addiction.
Right. Yeah. No.
That's just like
you got me. 100%, you got me.
So it's such a different experience from like the Into the Wild book, which I did listen to. Yeah, you're like on Tinder, you're on your phone, you can leave, you come back.
Big time.
It's interesting, yeah, but that's
Chris McCandless really wanted to disappear.
Yeah,
basically.
He's crazy.
I mean, I respect what he did.
I think he's crazy. You respect what he did.
Absolutely.
Burning his money, leaving like all this stuff.
Yes.
You respect that.
Yes.
Because you want to do that in some sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Not be
here's the
detached.
thing. Yes, exactly. Like the title of my second book, Unattached.
Okay. But don't you have
many attachments?
Yeah, with multiple partners, that's only multiple.
Yes.
That's more tie downs.
And that's another thing I talk about in that book.
Okay. While you're writing it currently.
Yeah, and I'm kind of at a crossroads right now because as I mentioned to you before we recorded this podcast, it's really easy for me to get distracted with side projects, not finish things. And the thing that is calling my name the most right now is
a girl named Rebecca.
Screaming it. No, it's so funny. This came to me on the Colorado Trail, and I recorded 3 hours of voice memos. A musical.
Oh,
I grew up doing musical theater.
Okay.
My parents are big into musical theater. My wife went to school doing musical theater. It's a musical called 6 Feet Apart, and I'm going to reenact the whole musical on TikTok myself.
Okay.
And it's funny. The reason I'm doing that is because I just need to like put it out in the ethos in like the form that it's currently in.
The ether.
Just to get, yes, you are so right. I need to get it out into the ether just in like the form it's currently in, because another thing I've tried to work on is like getting away from my perfectionist ways. And I'm just like, I just need to get this out. And
TikTok seems like the perfect medium to not be a perfectionist in.
Yes, I agree. Dude, I've never had something make me feel so old like TikTok.
In TikTok?
I'm like, what?
I did look at your TikTok before you came over.
Oh.
Yeah, because we don't really know each other.
There.
You reached out.
That's right.
Getting to know each other.
Getting to know
yeah.
you.
So sorry if it was. Yeah, I feel like we're warming up now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I'm
you had
it.
some sexual experiences on the trail, huh?
Sure did.
We got to talk about that.
Let's do it.
I mean,
here's the thing.
you're sweaty.
I put a disclaimer in this book
you're grimy.
for people. Yes, exactly. And
must have been unpleasant at times.
She wanted it.
Yeah. I mean, was that a barrier for you at all? Were you like, this smell? I mean, there's just, just more elements.
100%.
Than,
So my first
civilized.
my first encounter of such nature, it was a grad student at Dartmouth. And so obviously she had an apartment with a shower. So problem solved there.
Okay.
This encounter with this woman on Tinder who wasn't a hiker, she just didn't care. And it's funny, we're actually still good friends to this day and keep in touch quite a bit. But she had just gone through a breakup and she was like, yeah, I just feel like I need to fuck around a bit. And
you're like, hello.
Well, yeah. Idaho. My name is a sentence.
Bones.
Idaho
is
Bones.
In the name.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's such a different world.
Well, so she was working at a sandwich shop in Roanoke, and she was driving first an hour and a half, then 2 hours, then 3 hours, then 4 hours each way to come see me over and over again when she was off of work.
You got
yeah, because I'm hiking away from her.
She was following you.
And funny enough, a quick sidebar, there are terms for that. If it's a hiker, if a woman is following a man, it's called banana blazing.
Okay.
Because the white blazes are up and down the Appalachian Trail. They're the little marks on trees that guide you the entire trail. So there's all these phrases. So there's banana blazing if there's a woman who's like trying to get some dick. And then there's pink blazing if it's a guy reciprocating. Yeah. And then yellow blazing is skipping miles by car because yellow is the color of gasoline.
Oh.
Aqua blazing is when you like canoe or kayak instead of hiking. And yeah, so no, that was a quick sidebar. If I think of any other blazing, I'll let you know.
So you're stopping on the road for like condoms to stay safe? Like that was in your pack?
They were in my pack.
That was a necessary.
It was.
That's part of your go
bag.
Funny.
I did hold the two a few times and be like, "Is it worth carrying?"
What's the lightest weight condom? Trojan?
Don't know.
Yeah. Oh, but you weren't like.
Yeah, right.
I just watched something about like ultralight packing.
Big
so
time.
I was thinking about that.
I think most ultralight hikers would avoid bringing a condom. And you probably heard things like, drilling holes in your toothbrush.
Yeah, I saw. Exactly. I just saw a video last night of a guy doing that.
It's so silly. I was quite the opposite of that. I got a giant pack from an REI garage sale, and then when I first started hiking, my pack was 55 pounds. What?
You said you found a pack. I thought you meant a pack of condoms.
Oh,
you meant a backpack.
A backpack.
Okay.
A backpack.
Yeah, I'm not in on the lingo.
I know.
Yeah, when you said pitching a tent earlier, I thought you meant popping a boner. No.
And funny enough, that's how I got the nickname Woody, because an old woman kissed me right on the mouth at a bar in Vermont, and
I hadn't
had sex in 6 weeks, and she pulls back and goes, "You got yourself a Woody," and I was like, "No, I don't." Oh my God, I do.
What's wrong with that?
I mean,
just a red-blooded young man.
But I don't think I'll ever reach an age where
what does she think's gonna happen if she kisses you? You know?
I know. Tell me about it. She put herself in my. Oh, I can't say her name.
Yeah. Let's not use names.
No.
But yeah, okay. So you get back. I don't know. You said that there's a hard transition besides wanting to pee in the middle of the road.
Sure.
What are other things people aren't thinking about?
I think it was just like I'd find myself in group conversations just totally disinterested in what everybody was talking about. I was like, this stuff is such fluff. None of it matters. Again, that mantra just coming into my head over and over again. And just like, I think a lot of us are going through this since the pandemic. We're just like realizing shit. We're all kind of
pandemic
stuck in this hellscape. And
after that,
yeah, it was like I guess it was about 2 years after. And, by that time I was pretty back to being well adjusted. But the problem was, on trail, I literally wrote to myself in the journal over and over and over again, don't get another desk job. Don't get another desk job. Don't get another desk job. Well, then as I'm running out of money, I got to figure something out. So I send my resume to my old boss. And he
Damn.
puts me in touch with he's like, how does Denver sound? And I was like, actually, I was planning on moving to Denver anyway. So super
Yeah, what was that about?
serendipitous. I came to Denver for work when I was a conference planner in 2015, and I briefly stopped over in Boulder on a road trip in 2013. And honestly, I'm shocked, but actually that road trip in 2013, it was when Boulder got insanely flooded. It was like a historic flooding where I literally never saw the Flatirons. Like that's how foggy and rainy it was for the 36 hours I was in Boulder. So I feel like that wasn't ever gonna like, enamor me that kind of trip. But that work trip in 2015, and I did this a lot when I had that job. If I went to a new city, I would stay 2 or 3 extra days by myself and just wander around. And when I did that in Denver, I had literally one of the best days of my life. Like no plan, just walked from brewery to brewery and made friends the whole day. And I was like, I've never been to a city like that. Like I grew up in New York, and honestly, New York is a friendlier city than it gets a rap for, but I get it. Like, yes, New Yorkers are in a rush. They can be dicks. And then DC is certainly not like that. DC is the ultimate what do you do for work as the first question kind of town. You know what I mean? And I came to Denver and I was like, nobody's asked me what I do for work. Nobody's asked me like, where are your friends or whatever. Like everyone's just like, come with us, sit with us, have a beer. And it really just what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I was in awe of it, really. And it never really got out of my head. And I always knew I didn't want to settle down in DC. Like the real estate market alone wanted me to get the hell out of there. But I just like the East Coast. I have so much love for it, and when I meet East Coasters out here, we get along like a house on fire. But it it's just I don't know how to describe it because this is a podcast. I have to find an audio way to describe it. For those of you who can't see me right now, I'm tensing up quite a bit. It's just like it's like everybody's got a big old chip on their shoulder and is trying to get theirs.
Yeah, yeah.
But even up and down the East Coast, honestly, and like to varying degrees, but even like Boston's very much like that. New York is definitely, it's like all I knew is that I had this gut feeling like I was going to become a better person if I got out of that culture. And that's not to say everybody is a bad person on the East Coast. It's just I felt like I was not the best person I can be in that environment. So yeah, it's like Denver just had such an impact on me with that one day of wandering around the city with no plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely makes an impression on people. I don't know. Yeah, people are drawn to it. So
Yeah.
I think
and my wife grew up here. So
right, yeah. When did you meet your wife, and how did with the wanting to be
right after
monogamish or whatever,
Yeah.
and then why get married?
I call it love at first swipe,
Taxes.
and that is a great question.
Love at first what?
Love at first swipe. We matched on Bumble. Obviously, I've been a bit of a man whore on the dating apps over the years.
I mean, that's how you do it these days.
Yeah. And no, I said to her, I was like, I literally, as soon as I saw your photo, I was like, I think that's my wife.
Whoa.
So that's why I call it love at first swipe.
Okay. Yeah.
We met up on a date, and we were just getting along so well. And I had reached a point already. Well, first off, there were two things. One, I insisted I wanted to be single for a full year in Denver. I had just seen so many people move to a new city, wrap their whole lives around somebody. And I didn't want that to be me. I wanted to make my own way in Denver. I wanted to have my own identity and etc. Um, and that'll become important in a second. And then and I also decided, like, I as weird as it is, I need to be upfront with women and say, like,
about what you want.
I don't think I can be monogamous.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
At that point, I'm 29. At that point, I started the AT when I was 28. I'm 29, and obviously, I'm meeting other people in that age range, and it's like it's not like you're crazy in a rush to like get married and have kids, but you don't want to waste people's time.
Sure, yeah.
So I was like, this is gonna suck because so many women are gonna be like, peace, I'm out of here. When I say it, but I literally blurted it out on our date. So I basically told her, I was like, shit. She's like, what? And I was like, well, I was planning on being single for a year, and I really like you.
This is how much into your
This
year?
is like 45 minutes into the date.
Oh
like,
yeah, but I mean like into your year of being
2
single.
weeks.
2
weeks.
2 weeks.
Wow. 2 weeks.
All
yeah.
right.
I am a moron. And then shortly after telling her that brilliant plan, And she was like, "That's fine. I'm not looking for a relationship right now." And I was like, "Well, when I do find a relationship, I definitely can't do monogamy." And she was like, and she didn't say anything to this, but she said in her head, she was like, "You know what? Not looking for a relationship. I don't know that I'm necessarily non-monogamous, but fuck it. I'll give this guy a shot, have some fun, see
Yeah.
how long it lasts." Well, things got more and more serious just because we liked each other, but we were still both seeing other people for a while. So we kind of had a messy start to our relationship. And a lot of polyamorous, non-monogamous people, they start out monogamous and like, that's fine. There's no like one way to do this. But they are often surprised that we were non-monogamous from the jump. And it was messy. We had a lot of unlearning to do, but it taught us how to communicate and communicate
It's like
well.
not being jealous or communicating about that so jealousy wouldn't become a thing.
Well, that's the thing, and
Or
I was
hurt feelings
well, I
in a
was
way.
literally gonna say that like people have this notion that like non-monogamous or polyamorous people don't experience jealousy, and that's total bullshit.
Sure.
It's just you change your relationship with it. You find a way to make it so that it's not part of your identity, and you identify other things that are more important to you. And like when you feel jealousy, you acknowledge it, you talk about it, and it's a big thing in Buddhism and meditation. Like when you give something a label, it actually takes power away from it because your brain has kind of been like, oh yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, it was something we were navigating. But she had like dated couples previously and had periods where she was just having fun and stuff. So oh yeah, and she had said like in early relationships she was like emotionally cheating a lot, and she said that should have been like a clue to her that she also wasn't cut out for monogamy. And now that we've been together 5.5 years doing this, she's like, oh yeah, I can never go back to having a monogamous relationship. But it's something that like it was challenging, hard to figure out. She actually she had like taken off some time in college and like went back to school and did a study abroad in England. So then we had 3.5 months apart, 6 months into our own relationship, or I guess 9 months into our relationship, where it's like really put us to the test.
It's like you're even flip flopping into relationships.
Boom.
You're going back.
I love
She's
that you brought it
moving
full
away.
circle.
You
But no, I mean, I say all this just to say, like, yeah, it's what works for us.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think we got on that with like through line. Oh yeah, getting married, knowing you're
Yes. Oh, yeah.
not
We
monogamous.
still wanted to get married. I mean, and it's funny because we met the girl we dated for quite some time, just a couple weeks before our wedding. And it was kind of an interesting thing because it was like,
Was she
well,
at the wedding?
nope.
Okay.
Right, I know. Everybody asked that.
She became the best woman.
Right. But even though we like for a long time we had felt like we wanted that relationship dynamic, but we still wanted to get married just because it's I don't know, it's something we wanted to do with each other. But it didn't mean like, oh, we want to get married so that way it's like us two versus anyone else. It was just like
Yeah,
it was the way we wanted to express our love for each other. And yes, taxes.
to say like commit for life
Exactly.
is how what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
but in the parameters of your open
hmm
relationship.
and in that second book that I'll be writing and whatever, I talk a lot about it's been kind of crazy to look back at my childhood and see direct lines to what influenced me and pushed me in this direction. And I think that's like one of the most beautiful things about writing, even if it's not about yourself, even if it's not a memoir, is like it kind of opens up some doors that have been closed for a long time in your mind. And there were just so many things from my childhood where I was like, wow, it makes sense that I kind of landed where I did.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I guess that's good being
Yeah,
able to reflect and stuff.
definitely.
Uh, yeah. What are the big points? Anything else you want to say about the book, or something you want people to know about, or
Um,
any big takeaways, or what do you want people to
absolutely.
take away
Yeah, I
from the
mean,
book?
the best place to get the book is readuncivilized.com.
No, it's any fun tidbits from the book, or just
Yeah,
what do you
definitely.
want people to take away from it? What do you think will bring them to the next book?
I think very much what I want this book to do and the impact I want it to have is I just think it's so unfortunate that like so many people in our generation are just like, wow, what a fucking dumpster fire. And it's like,
Oh, the world or
The
a
world.
person? Okay.
The world.
It's like, or a person? You talking about me?
And it's just so crazy that like it feels like we're all settling for it, you know? And the whole thing about the hike was like I think I could live in the woods for 7 months, and then I did it. And it's just like we don't have to settle for anything. And I don't know how we're going to change the world to make it better for us and kind of uh fix the generational theft that's kind of taken place. But I just want us, I don't know. I think the biggest thing I wanted for the book was for people to read it and be like, I don't have to eat shit for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like I want people to know that they can make changes, big or small, and that we can hopefully one day all band together and not settle for things we're not happy with.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
much it, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah. That's great. Yeah.
I feel like
Powerful stuff.
yeah, I feel like the last few years have been really hard on us, and it's really made us all kind of take a look and be like, is this really it? Like, when's it going to get better? And we're going to have to figure it out.
You
Not
gonna
just
take
happen.
your lady, and if you have a 3-year or 3-month-old, take them out on the trail next. Can you
Annalisa
imagine taking your
insisted.
family out? That's all I'm
Oh
getting
man,
at.
yes, I
You
can.
can?
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
a newborn, no.
Okay.
A newborn, no. And like
What's
again,
your
no
age range?
judgment.
Like 6?
Yes.
6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think that would be a
They
really
could
good
run
experience for
away
them.
from a coyote instead of
Yes.
trying to become its friend. Is the
Yeah.
best survival thing.
That's so true. Yeah.
Not that a 6-year-old could probably outrun a coyote. Just you
No.
know, just I don't want anyone out there thinking this idiot thinks 6-year-olds could outrun a coyote.
Not in this economy.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. Thank you so much for coming down. I look forward to reading the audiobook.
I was gonna say I'm glad that I have
listening to the audiobook.
Yeah, I'm
You're
glad
gonna read it?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's best when authors read their stuff.
I agree. And actually, that's something I was going to talk to you about. I'm really nervous because I type out many accents in this book, and I'm very scared for how it's going to come across when I'm doing all these accents. So
I mean, they like racist?
yeah, well,
I
not
mean, a lot of,
racist,
like-
but they're racial.
I mean, as long as you're not like getting in blackface and being like, all right,
Certainly
now
not.
I'm doing this behind the booth. You guys
Oh,
don't know this,
Jesus.
but just so you know, I'm fully getting in the character.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's a joke. Okay. No,
Yeah,
but
right?
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's I mean, I have a buddy who has been narrating books as well, and he talked about being like doing the voice of like a gay Southern person.
Right.
You know, so like that's like, you know, what do you bring to that? You know, as a straight cis male.
Right.
And then, you know, without making it stereotypical or, you know, being offensive.
It's tough.
like,
It's a tough tightrope to walk.
Yeah, and
these
even
days.
like he said that he's got some stuff where he had to say the N-word and things like
Oh,
that.
my.
So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's in service of this book that someone else
Yes.
wrote, and he's reading it, so people can hear it. So I mean, I guess you get something you just gotta kind of reckon with and get over.
Yep. Well, it's funny. What I actually listened to Eat, Pray, Love, and because I know you mentioned Big Magic on one of your recent episodes.
Yeah, I did enjoy that book.
Solid book, yeah, and I love the perspective, and it actually like helped me through this process a little bit. And one of the saving graces of listening to Eat, Pray, Love is I was like, all right, cool. Elizabeth Gilbert is doing Indian accents, so
okay.
she's not canceled. Maybe I can do them too.
Yeah, I think once you get to a certain, yeah, you gotta have fuck you money, you know.
Oh
sure.
yeah. I definitely don't have fuck you. I have fuck me money.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even have that.
Well, I think that Buddhist thing of like detachment from
Sure
gives you the fuck you money. I
Mm.
mean that lowers the rate of
I
fuck
like
that you need for
I
fuck
like
you
that.
money.
Yeah, yeah.
There's something there, but also you know you want to have
Well, it's
comfort.
becoming.
You want to live in comfort.
Yeah.
Are there little things in life that you can go without now? Like
Oh yes.
you don't need slippers or
I
something.
used to
You're
be.
like, I don't need
I definitely need slippers. I get
a
cold feet.
bidet. I wouldn't want to be without my bidet. I feel like going to my wife's parents' house and they
You're
don't
like,
have a
"Where's the
bidet,
bidet?"
is really roughing it. Like I hate it. It's the
It's
worst
basically
part.
camping.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I used to be such an overpacker for vacation, and
You want to have options, bro.
what's that?
You want to have options.
I know,
Shirts,
but now
You look like a stylish guy. Like this is well
Appreciate it,
put together.
appreciate it.
I mean, like you do not want to look good.
it's not that.
You let that go.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay, yeah.
I've just gotten cheap and have flied Frontier so much that I literally got a teeny tiny little suitcase that fits under the seat in front of you. And I've learned how to travel with just that. And when I visited Annalisa in Europe, that was 10 months after the Appalachian Trail. I traveled in Europe for 2 weeks with just a JanSport size backpack, and that was it. It's crazy, right?
Okay, so you're just learning to make do with less, huh?
Yeah, and I think I've always been an experiences over things person, but the Appalachian Trail amplified it. Like,
don't you think would have been nicer if you had a cool vest?
yes.
I've been recently wanting to buy a
Same.
vest, and
let me know if you find one.
Dude, Levi has this cool denim vest that's reversible into a sheepskin. I don't know if it's actual sheepskin, but yeah, it's like $100.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Park Meadows Mall has one. Don't go and buy it before me, bro.
Right.
All right.
I mean, I would love to have matching vests with you.
Yeah, are you making any money off the book yet? I mean, are you selling it or what?
Yeah, believe me, not a lot, but
I believe you.
Yes.
I mean, I just know book selling is hard.
Oh my God,
it's a hustle.
forget it. It's so annoying because I tried so hard to go the classic route. And it's really hard to go the classic route, especially
if you're not
with
a
memoir.
celebrity.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially with a memoir, it's really hard to do. And I did have several agents be like, "I actually love your writing. I don't think I could be your agent for this book, but the second you start writing fiction, let me know."
Oh, interesting.
And I have ideas for 3 fiction books.
Okay.
I got a lot of work to do, clearly, is what you're learning
So you found writing
today.
is like but you also do videography, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a wedding videographer, which I love. And
because it allows you not to have the office job.
yes.
Or do you really
But I also really love it.
Wedding?
I do, actually. I do.
Are you finding a lot of throuple opportunities at these other weddings?
No. No.
Because you think there'd be some people
My wife gets hit on almost every wedding. I've never been
she
hit
also
on at a
is
wedding.
part of the videography
She's a photographer.
business? Okay.
It's her business. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, she's a bad bitch. And then for me, it's like not a once.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's got to be one person who's the opener for the throuple. There's always one person who gets approached more.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a couple on Drunk Wedding, and they're talking about throuple.
It's getting more and more common, and Annalisa and I. So there's in the polyamory community, it is a bad term, and that is unicorn hunters.
Yeah.
Because like a third that you bring into the room is known as a unicorn.
Uh-huh.
Why? Because they're so rare and magical. And then so you've probably seen like a lot of the memes of, particularly for Denver, of like when you go to that brewery on Colfax, and then it's like a picture of a couple, and it's like, "Hey, we love your vibe. Can we buy you a drink?" And so Annalise and I will like jokingly be that couple, but we go out of our way to not be that couple, like as much as possible. But of course, people still make fun of us all the time, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Absolutely. Please,
you're living your truth.
I'm living my truth, and I'm living it well. So there's nothing to be sorry about. I can handle it. I grew up in New York.
Yeah, there's that.
Yep.
Unicorn not referring to a man though, right?
Oh, it could be.
Yeah, it could be, but it's not.
Usually not right.
But it's not.
Right.
It could be, but it's
not. I mean, there's plenty of people out there who
I think
enjoy that as well.
Less.
So I do substitute teaching as well. So I say I've been like chasing the freelance dragon for years, like trying to figure out how to piece together all these jobs. And then I finally figured it out. And then now we're going through a breakup, and I have to come up with more money for the mortgage every month. So I'm like, shit, I gotta go catch that dragon again. But all that to say is the funniest thing I heard when I was subbing is like, someone's like, "How old are you, mister?" And I love having them guess. It's such a fun game, and they're always so wrong in a way that makes me feel really good about myself. No, they go way younger.
Oh, okay.
It's
that's nice.
I know, it's a nice feeling, Maybe I'm not getting hit on at weddings, but at least students thinking I'm 25.
Yeah, I'll cut that part out if you want. You get more work as a teacher. Nah, it's fine.
Please, I after publishing this book and agreeing to, or wanting to come on the show, I'm like, there's nowhere to hide anymore. My life is out there, and it is what it is. But no, the student said something that cracked me up the other day. He was like, "How old are you, mister?" And he's like, "I bet your whole generation's so tired because you were all pretending to be straight for so long."
Oh shit!
They're like,
that's
all
hilarious.
by now. It's
right.
And like, good for them, good for them. But it did crack me up.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Especially like being in the polyamorous community, where it's like there is a cutoff, and it's like it's not a hard line, but like people in their 40s, it is it's always a straight man and a bi woman, straight man and a bi woman, straight man and a bi woman, and then more and more in their mid 20s, you see bi couple. So we're both are bi. It is interesting. It's something that I'm definitely going to dig deeper into on the
It's like a
second book.
generational, more accepted thing. So it's
Big time. Yeah.
a lot of the Catholic guilt, I'm sure, is part of that.
100%.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. How instilled is it still in you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I feel bad right now just talking about it.
Same.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go.
Exactly.
All right, we'll do one Hail Mary to end this thing, and I think we'll be
Full
okay.
Of grace. Absolutely.
No.
I say that all the time.
Where can people find you?
So readuncivilized.com is the best place. I'm currently in a bit of a limbo that's preventing me from getting in bookstores at the moment. I hope to have that resolved in the next month.
Even independent ones like Mutiny, Information Cafe, or things like that?
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. They all still get their books through a website called Ingram Spark. And I forgot to uncheck one box that is now preventing me from getting distributed in bookstores.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's pretty annoying. But yeah, readuncivilized.com is the best place. And then I'm Chris Veasey with 2 Y's. Just because people took the username. That's not how you spell my name, but it's CHRIS .VEASEYY. Both on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, if you can't find me through those methods, then I don't know how to help you.
Right on. Well, I'll let the guests sign us off however they see fit. I will say be excellent to each other. Wakanda forever.
Yes.
And whatever you want to, the culmination of this whole experience for you.
None of it matters.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.